good evening, and good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is Otumba, who latest TV. Um, it's my pleasure today, the 17th October 2023. Another day. The way days and weeks, months, year go, you look at it and say, "Oh my God, these days they run so fast." But then again, one thing is certain: for everybody, it's going to be one day, one day. But while we are still here, I was reading through a posting that a large collection of friends and family, and their elderly ones, they start saying, "Look, let us enjoy ourselves, oh," because you never know. But you end up putting so much money in your bank account, the money you might not later on have access to, the relationship you have, you better enjoy each other now. So what they're trying to say is, let us enjoy, let us relax, then let us take things so honestly hard. Because when the time comes, that will be it. So it's my pleasure tonight. I have well, some people are in my life. They have a large collection of description of how I can take them. I can conveniently say it's my bro, my friend, my colleague. We've come a long way. So this guy is, I must also say he has overtaken me because I always give it to people that are doing very well in the media. And you're going to meet him in a second. He's at the backstage. I'm going to bring him here. He's waving to me already. I'm coming to you in a minute. I want to take him through the same process. He grills people. He asks questions. They sometimes say, "Hello, calm down." So let me welcome him to the studio. Um, that is him, oh. This is the man that always, and I'm sure most of you must have seen him before. He's a nice, like I said, we come a long way. Far back, 2000, I think 2009 or something like that, when we were regular on Ben Television. Uh,
Correct.
is that right? Yeah. And we are
Correct.
doing
Yes.
a regular show every afternoon punch or something like that, daily punch or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
It
We did
was
it.
him and I doing it regularly for a long period of time. And thereafter, we, I mean, not scatter, but we then. Beauty of my show is I relax. I mean, 76. What do you want me to do? Somebody was asking me, you only talk. I said, oh, really? Oh, I should be going to Tesco, pushing the trolley now. Even if you are doing that, you still want to talk. So
That's correct.
it's my pleasure, and I don't want to take the time, energy for granted. I know some of my friends have gone. I see some of my friends who are still struggling. So I don't take any minute of my life for granted. I appreciate it, and I thank the Almighty.
Thank
Tonight,
you for having me.
yeah, tonight, Femi, okay, I'm going to deal with him.
Okay. I'm ready for you. Anyone which you did. Anyone you did, I did there.
Yeah, you see, because when somebody gets to know the art of a trade better than you are, and you don't want to give up, because in fairness, like I said, I know him very well. Yoruba people say the river that starts, you cannot carry it away. So,
Hmm.
um, Femi, you are welcome to my show.
Thank you.
It's my
Glad to be
pleasure.
here.
Yeah. Tonight we are going to do on and about three uh, area or place.
Okay.
I want to start with with UK, where you and I live. I also want to talk about Europe a little bit, the Middle East,
Okay.
and
Yep.
then I also then finally go to Niger. And about Niger, I'm going to talk about the politics and also talk about uh, the YSDM, Yoruba Nation Self-Determination
By all
Movement.
means.
Yeah. Now, but before I get started, please introduce yourself again to my viewers.
Okay. My name is Femi. Okay, as you've said, I'm the DG of Betta9ja, and also the founder of Betta9ja, and host of Enough is Enough as Soro, Soke, which you can see on the back. That's a weekly show for debate and discussions for Betta9ja. So I do that, and apart from that, I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I do properties, do a bit of agriculture, things like that. So an accountancy. So yeah, that's what that was where I trained. I got my degree in accountancy. I have my certificate, so you shouldn't worry about that. There's no worries there. Okay.
Hello. Anybody can say I have my son. Where? Where's
But funny enough, I was at Kingston Polytechnic. It's now Kingston University.
is
So
yeah.
if I lose my certificate, they will be saying Kingston University and not Kingston Polytechnic. And then people will start saying, "Oh, but you said you went to Kingston Polytechnic." It's a fake forgery, fake certificate. You know, this is Nigeria for you.
So how do we access your university now? How do we access your university? If you want to find your transcript or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to go to Kingston University, and of course, they used to be Kingston Polytechnic. So yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Anyway, I don't think we are going to do so because, like I said, I know you. I can guarantee that this guy, I know we are not classmates, but at least I know him
Well,
very, very well.
I was born in the '60s, so those people born in the '50s, record keeping wasn't a great thing back then. So you know,
Hmm.
who knows?
Hmm. Right. Uh, Folks who are watching, who already logged in, do me a favor. Uh, Help share, like, love, and press the notification button. But most importantly, subscribe. So it takes me a long time to find out that people who subscribe, they easily get notification faster than people who did not
Correct.
subscribe. And like I said, it is a show that we reel out information to people out there. So I love. I've been to his show many times, and I gain a lot. And it's the last one was a collection of people I want to say brains, Nigerians who want the best for the country. Without
Mhm.
further ado, let's start with you with UK. Uh,
Okay.
the name Kemi Badenoch.
Okay.
In this country, they start touting, they start talking about probability, they start the calculation. He might be now seen as not here apparent, but then he might be seen as a front runner because from all look of things, it looks like conservative. The 16 years they've been on, and in this
Mhm.
country, that I'm not going to take away from the average electorate. An average electorate is so educated, he's well informed, he knows the politics, the economic, the social, and everything, and they know when to talk, no, and they know when not to talk. And for them, majority of people are now saying, you know what, enough is enough. 16 years of conservative, it doesn't matter whether they know how to do it or not. Let's have a change. That is democracy for you. In fact, they don't want to say it has to be ever and ever. Kemi Badnoch, what do you want to tell our viewers about Kemi Badnoch?
Oh well, obviously she's a minister in the UK, and she's obviously of Nigerian origin. Although she tries to uh, put that Nigerian origin on a kind of silence, pretending that she's not really Nigerian. But she's Nigerian, and she's quite radical. I think what I find in the Conservative Party is that people of color in the Conservative Party want to be more radical and more rightist than normal conservatives. They're more conservative than conservatives. You know the saying that if you're a black person, you've got to be better than your peers. You've got to go the extra mile. And so she's trying to go extra mile to show that, I'm against immigrants. I'm against this. I'm against that, which I think is not really. I think it's in poor taste, to be quite frank. That's my view.
Well, the problem I have with your view is here is a country where things go according to policies. The issue, the politics of immigration, you and I know that they use it to either to shock or to divide or to, in most cases, immigration is like a kind of a ping pong. They use it to make or break, because we're talking of a situation where in this country, you cannot do without immigration. You can't, because most of what immigrants do, the country, the citizens here are not ready to do it. When they are busy watching the what's it common coronation, what's that one? When the people of other countries are busy cleaning the roads and the streets and everything. So really and honestly, and also there are also certain higher level jobs in this country, like IT and so on, that you cannot just do it. Is you either leave it to the Middle Eastern or Indians and so on and so forth. So really and honestly, I understand. So that's why I want to disagree. So if it doesn't want to immediately align or make herself easily available to Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria background. The name says it all. I'm not angry with her, to be honest with you, but that's a different opinion.
Everybody to their own, You can see what, we are going to get onto the Middle East, but you can see in other countries, like if you look at the Secretary of State for America, he's got Jewish heritage, and you can see what he's doing, going to Israel, going to the Middle East, and bending over backwards for Israel. Same happens with other people from other ethnicities who are in other countries. So if you want to deny your roots, by all means, you've got people like Suella Braverman. They, like you rightly said, elections are likely to come next year, and always, immigration is used as a tool, or the threat of immigration as a tool to bolster, the white vote, if you like, the middle class, the lower class, those people who are anti-immigrants. They psych them up and get them to think that, like she says, there's an invasion of asylum seekers possibly coming. I mean, this is a kind of hysteric kind of language just to win elections. They did it with when UKIP did it for the Brexit elections, they did it then, saying that all the people from Turkey are going to come in and all this kind of stuff. So it's just a political football. And I think it's of bad taste, as I said before.
Well, fair enough. Then again, you quickly alluded to the exit of UK from the European Union. Today, do you know what the public opinion is saying? About 63% want to go back. Google it. Anybody, those of you who are listening to this.
We already told them back. I mean, I'm not in favor of Brexit. I don't favor Brexit, just like I don't favor Oduduwa Nation and I don't favor Biafra.
Hello, calm down, calm down. Don't jump.
I'm just saying, I don't favor Brexit. I never did. I believe that UK is better within the European Union, and it doesn't affect our sovereignty in any way, shape, or form. We're still a sovereign nation, even though you're in EU, and you can make independent decisions. Even to whilst we were still in the EU, the UK wasn't part of the European currency. We still had the pound. So there are many things that we opted out for. The Schengen, for example, border system, we opted out from that. So there are many things that UK opted out from whilst being in the EU. And of course, they have a veto because all decisions have to be unanimous. So there must be unanimous decisions. So really, this whole idea that, we were worse off whilst we were in the EU is just, a story for the birds, really. And like you said, 63% of UK citizens are saying that they want to go back in, but I don't see anyone putting that on the ballot anytime soon.
Well, that'll be another discussion, another politics for another day. Now, let's move out of UK. Europe, the election in Poland,
Yes.
this Tusk, is one of the hawks. Is one of the people bragging or whatever, showing over. I think he lost his. He lost it now. The
Well, he still
opposition.
got he got the highest number of seats in the parliament, but it wasn't sufficient enough to make to form the government. So
Hmm.
it's likely that the opposition, who Tusk was there before, plus other parties, will be in a more stronger position to form um, the new government. And really, he was really at the causing a lot of havoc in EU. He was anti-European, if you like. He was trying to make out like he would be putting in some Putin policies towards the end, just recently. I think that was just an election gimmick, but really he's anti-LGBT. There are many things, even anti-freedom of the press. The state is controlling the press. A lot of things were happening which were unsavory under the hopefully outgoing Polish government, and the anti-immigrant as well policies was very unsavory to asylum seekers and the border and the way they treated people at the border. Yeah, I mean, things are likely to change, hopefully for the better.
Is this kind of method of governing, or is it something linked with nationalism or what?
Of course, you see, this is the thing, and you said you want me to go on the Oduduwa thingy, but what you
Wait,
find is
wait,
that,
don't go there
yeah,
yet.
of course, I'm not going there. I'm just saying, it's just that with Trump, with Johnson, when he was there, UKIP with Nigel Farage, there's all these things. Even in Germany now, far right parties winning elections. In Israel, Netanyahu, far right. So all these people are nationalist bogies that they're pushing forward a narrative as if to say the country is going to be in danger without them. You understand?
Hmm.
And it's a cult of personality, and it's not going well. And you can see what it's led to in places like Israel, was led to in places like Poland, and other places. It's not a good look.
Thank you, Femi. Coming to the, I don't want to use the word trend. Eh, Anything war, I don't like war. And when I make reference to my age and the time I first came to Europe, that was shortly after the Second World War. I mean, 19, that was 1970. The war, the Second War is still a little bit not
You
fresh.
we're in the,
That is,
we're in the Cold War. We're in the Cold War then.
yeah, that was a Cold War thing. And I have never loved, I mean, I've never loved anything to do with war. Now, but unfortunately, as we speak, the ongoing Middle East imbroglio, the problem between Palestine and Israel. And I also want to say to the people viewing this show, I have appeared, I think, a couple of times on international televisions, and I did not conclude on any specific. I disagree with both sides because, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know why they cannot seek for peace. So, having said that, I don't want to support one against the other, because it's two of them. At the end of the day, they need peace. Femi, what's your take?
Okay,
Giving
so
a balance
mm. so
analysis of
so
what they.
my take is, if historically, Palestine was a country, and then the Great Britain, as they always do with their divide and rule, with the League of Nations and United Nations mandate and the Balfour Agreement, set in place motions to make it basically a Jewish state. Okay, to me that was unfair to the Palestinians. But at the end of the day, they've had several wars in '67, the Yom Kippur War, 1970, or they had so many wars, and the Palestinians are stateless people right now. And what is happening in Israel and Palestine, for me, I mean, I want to make it clear, I have nothing against the Jews and I support Jews. I'm not against the Jews. And all this idea that if you are against the state of Israel, then you're anti-Semitic is complete nonsense. and it's just gaslighting. The fact of the matter is, if we were, I was born in the '60s, and I grew through apartheid South Africa, and I knew what apartheid was. I mean, I never lived it, but we knew and we saw every day. And the people and those who were freedom fighters for the ANC, and those in also in Mozambique and Angola, UNITA, they were all called terrorists by the UK government, by the American government, by the French government, the German government. In fact, they were banned. They weren't allowed to be on TV and so on and so forth. The same way that they're doing in Hamas and PLO and all these other entities, Hezbollah and whatever. But they were fighting for a cause. Everyone realized. In fact, the UK government was the main, and the US and France were all major sponsors of the South African apartheid regime, as they are with the regime in Israel. In fact, Israel and South Africa had a lot of collaboration to get the nuclear bomb. You understand? You know, the South Africa well, more or less had the nuclear bomb. Israel had the nuclear bomb, and they collaborated together with the help of the French and the UK and the diaspora in America and so on. So, look, if you look at it seriously, there is apartheid regime going on in Israel because you've got two states. They've got Israeli Arabs who have different rights to Jewish Arabs. And then you've got the Palestinians who are occupied in the West Bank, in Gaza. You understand? They're already occupied, and they have different rules for them. You understand? They don't have any rights. Gaza is completely under siege. It was always under siege. And so therefore, these people are living, like what happened in South Africa, where they created so-called Bantustans, so-called independent states, which are never independent states, and they were controlled by the South Africans. Everything is the same with Israel. But for some strange reason, the narrative on the public media, which many say is controlled by the so-called Jewish elite or whatever, they put the narrative that the Jews are the ones that are the victims. And it's unbelievable to me that you've got millions of Arabs or Palestinians who are not allowed to come back home. They've been made refugees by being forced out by the Israelis in the 40s and the 60s and so on. They were forced out, and they're not allowed to return. However, anyone who's Jewish origin or can prove they're Jewish has an automatic right to come back to the Jewish state. You can see clear apartheid going on there. So to me, the best solution is a two-state solution. You understand? What Hamas did is despicable, is a terrorism. Let's bear no bones about it. It's absolute terrorism. And I'm not justifying it in any way or form. ANC also conducted terrorism. You understand? UNITA conducted terrorism. You understand? The FARC rebels conducted terror. So many people fighting. In fact, the Jewish state, when they were fighting for independence, bombed the David Hotel. I can't remember, the one hotel in Jerusalem there, and it was bombed. King David Hotel. It was terrorism before they got independence. So this idea that you cannot negotiate with terrorists. What about IRA? They bombed up Canary Wharf and so many places. Before now, the state of the UK were negotiating with the IRA. You must negotiate with your enemies in order to have peace. The only way forward is either to have a two-state solution where you give Palestinians their state and allow them to rule themselves, or you have one country, Israel, and give everybody the same rights. I mean, either way, I support either way. If you're going to make it one country, then give all the people the same rights and be balanced about it. If you want to make it two states, give them a viable state. There's no point giving them a state that's not viable. And then Jerusalem can be a shared capital. I don't see the problem in that. But like you said, what we said earlier, you've got the nationalism and the selfishness of people like Netanyahu, who's only interested in himself, and the corrupt governments of his changing the law to suit his own narrative, changing the law so that the legislature cannot, the Supreme Court can't challenge laws that have been changed. So at the end of the day, Israel was already in chaos before this thing happened, and maybe that chaos has led to this situation, which maybe will lead to a solution. Because after the killing and all the fighting, they will have to talk, and they will have to solve the problem.
Yeah, yeah. Just 1 second. Hello, I'm on my live show now. Are you on your way? Okay. started the show already. I'll send a link to you again. No problem. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
That's my nephew in his way home. Now, that's your opinion, and I hope you're entitled to your opinion. Like I said, based on my two appearances on the other country, I mean, in another international television, I've said it that I don't want to say it's not because I'm afraid. I just feel like I don't support war in any form or shape. You know,
And who's the biggest warmonger in the whole of the region? If you look at how many times they've gone to war, regardless of who is the cause, or they say who's the cause, who dies the most? Whose lives matter most? You know, always the Palestinians are dying in the thousands compared to the Israelis. Whose property is being damaged and destroyed? The Palestinians. Hardly any assets or any buildings are destroyed in Israel, and so. You know, you can see Israel is a militarized state.
and I know I must say I agree with that, and I'm not too good in religious reading religious book, but then it is clearly stated that that land, the land has been always all along belongs to the Palestinian, and also the Jews are also part of them. You know, all that and that's why when you say two-state solution, I said it might not be very popular. I've suggested that one state, all of them, put them together. They will sort
Yeah,
out.
but the problem with that is that already, remember, there's apartheid rules going on. The Israelis are never going to be treating. I mean, look at the way they describe them. They describe Palestinians as animals. They describe them as unhuman. You know, although some might think they were talking about Hamas, but no, they mentioned the Palestinians. You know, look at the seat. You go on television, the Minister of Defense has said, no food, no water, no fuel. You understand? No electricity in the 21st century. This is ridiculous. That is automatically a war crime. And in any other situation, they will be called out on it. If Putin could be called out and have an arrest warrant for Putin, a world power, you understand, superpower at that, on the Security Council, there is a warrant for his arrest, and Russia is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, just like Israel is not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, and America is not a signatory, and the UK are not signatories. Why? Because they don't want their soldiers to be prosecuted. But
Exactly.
anybody else is guilty, and they must be prosecuted. But you're going to see nothing's going to happen. I can assure you that thousands of people have already died, and thousands more will die, and most of them will be Palestinians, and there will be no prosecution for war crimes against any Israeli. Let's watch it. Watch this space.
And that's very, very unfortunate, because like all the names of the countries you mentioned, they they perpetrate well, let me put it mildly, more atrocities, and at the end of the day, behind the whole this war in the Middle East is a case of some superpower who are trying to find for trouble, looking for problem. And my worry is if it's escalated to a certain level, to a certain point,
Yeah,
we might,
yeah.
because in mind, I don't want to start speculating here. In mind, maybe they're looking for, that country to turn
Well,
around.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
Iran.
yeah,
Yeah, Iran has already said that they may have some other their surrogates may have to engage in a preemptive strike. Because if the killing keeps going on and on, and I must say that Hamas, I mean, are the terrorists. What they did was a terrorist thing, and it's just despicable. Women and children being killed, taken hostages. But I can assure you, Mossad and the IDF will be hunting those people down till the end of time, and they will catch them. And when they do catch them, they will execute them, just like the Americans executed Osama bin Laden and so many other people that they've executed. They're not gonna be any trial. They'll just execute them. That's what's gonna happen. So this is the way of the world right now. Force might is right. That's what seems to be happening right now.
Let me ask you, as as a global analyst, yeah, the countries of the Muslim countries, because the way it is now, it looks like the whole thing has been splitted into two. The Christian more Christian country or believers are supporting the Israel, and the Muslim believers somehow are supporting the
Mhm.
Palestinian. Why is so that the Arab countries are not getting
Okay.
involved?
I don't actually believe that that is true. Just like what happened in the South African situation, is because certain people control the media outlets. They control what goes out. So in a way, they're molding public opinion through their outlets, so that the voice of the Palestinians are not being heard. In France, for example, they've told you cannot go on demonstrating and in support of the Palestinians. This is undemocratic. You have a right to demonstrate, and they've told you can't because you're supporting the Palestinians. They're not supporting Hamas. These protesters are not holding Hamas flags. The same thing in the UK. They're
Mm.
holding Palestinian flags, and that Brahman was saying that they're somehow being supporting terrorism. No, there's a distinction between supporting the Palestinians and supporting Hamas. They're not one and the same. And in fact, everybody knows that Hamas doesn't speak for the whole of the Palestinian people. So in the Arab world, they're in a bit of a flux right now. Economically, half of the Arab world, especially the ones in Africa, are in a poor state of affairs, especially countries like Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, they're still in comatose, Algeria. They're not doing fantastically well. The ones that are doing well, like the Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Qatar, and whatever, they're
Mm.
more interested in football and the World Cup and other things than uh, bothered about people that are suffering. There was the Abraham Accords where Saudi Arabia was about to come into an agreement to recognize Israel. For me, I don't have anything against that. I think that's a good thing. But the problem is, if you don't deal with the core issue of the Palestinian problem,
The problem.
any kind of agreement will never, it won't stand up.
Mm.
And the people, and why you can see that the governments of all these countries told Blinken face up that, look, what you're doing is not right, it's not balanced, because what the Israelis are doing is a war crime, and it's it's against human rights and all the so they're saying that because they know that if they don't support the Arab population, they'll be in problems. The people of the Arabs out there, they're not happy about this. And if they don't sort this, come to some kind of truce, and this thing can escalate. You can see what's happening on the border with with Lebanon.
Mm.
The Hezbollah are threatening to come into the mix. Syria, they've got people there. This could be a multi-fronted war, and then you can see someone like Netanyahu may go and strike Iran. I can see him doing that. That guy is so crazy. He
Yeah.
could go and strike Iran, and
Well,
if that was to happen,
yeah,
wow.
we are on fire. I mean,
Well,
economically,
I-
Iran has an edge over the whole world because the 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 water. What was the name of that water? Hamas.
the Arabian Straits between Iran and Saudi Arabia, there
Yeah.
must be a blockade that oil prices will go up through the roof. If we think that we're suffering right now, we'd be in a completely mad situation. I don't think, and I don't understand. I think the Americans have put in two aircraft carrier fleets there and some other forces, but I think they shouldn't really be on the Mediterranean. They should be in the Arabian Sea, which is on the other side.
Mm.
So I can see them rushing to get to that side soon. I think they will be trying to do that, and that's not going to bode well.
Yeah. Finally, I just want to tell the world that even before the war, um, like my guest said, PLO, I mean, Palestine has always been under the, let me use the word manual of Israeli because their water, all the basic things are being controlled by Israel. So even before the war. So, and I think that needs to be said.
there's a silent killing going on right now by Israeli settlers who are killing Palestinians in their droves in the West Bank. And no one's really talking about that. And it happens day in, day out. When you count them up every year, hundreds, if not thousands, of these settlers are killing Palestinians in the West Bank, and no one is saying anything. And when they kill them, there's no prosecution. They don't get prosecuted for murder, and even if they get prosecuted, they get off after a year or whatever. So you can see the discord and the disconnect and the imbalance is becoming more and more unacceptable. And in America, people are already demonstrating in favor of Palestine, and even in the UK and in France and other countries. This thing is not going to stop. And the young people know when they see inequality and know when they see unfairness, and they will speak out. Most of them, Biden has got a problem in next year election because a lot of these youth are not going to be supporting any kind of escapade in Israel. And if the US troops are used, that's going to be a big problem.
It is. It's going to be. I agree with you. Now, let's move out of UK, Europe, and the Middle East, and let me take you home.
Okay.
Yeah, but then again, I always discuss the quest for another nation out of the country called Nigeria. We're going to discuss that last, but you and I have been in this game of we believe in this, we believe in that, we support. We are analysts. We have to balance our thinking, our argument. Having said that, as human beings, we still do have that kind of support. You can't take that away. As it is, the people who are complaining that the economy is sluggish, the people who will come and do analysis on television are saying things are not moving the way they think it should have been under the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, most importantly, the ordinary people that are now saying, oh my God, and when they start saying it's not as bad, then I get worried. Again, you and I know that the president took over a very bad government. That is the truth. That nobody can take away. But then again, people will also say, hang on a minute. If the president had prepared the last 30 years, he know exactly, he should know the scores, he should be able somebody to know his onions, he should know what exactly what needs to be done and how it should be done, and so on and so forth. But then again, the way things are, and deliberately, I don't want to bring the issue of an element of distractions, which is up there. We all say that. We might talk about it, but I don't want to serve that as a major area of argument. What is responsible for this cry of the ordinary people? We are hungry.
So this is the thing. I like to tell the thing as it is and tell ourselves the truth. Nigeria is supposedly the giant of Africa. Okay, that was the mantra in the 70s and the 80s and so on. And the honest truth is we are only giant in size alone, and size in terms of the size of our population and the size of our economy. Because if you've got 230 going on 240, nearly 250 million people, your economy is definitely going to be large because you've got so many mouths to feed, so many houses to build, and so on and so on. So the economy will be bigger. There's no other country in Africa bigger than Nigeria. However, that's where the whole thing messes up. Because when you now look at what are we relying on as a nation to grow our economy, we're relying mainly on petroleum and gas. Okay, and there was a time we were doing 2 million barrels a day. Now we're doing less than that. We're doing 1 point something, maybe 1.2, 1.3. There was even a time we were doing less than 1 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, because we have a massive growing population, mostly youth, we have a massive import dependency. Everybody that's in Nigeria, in any household, you will find imported items. Okay, all those import and even things that are made in Nigeria, the machinery that is used to manufacture them are imported. So therefore, you'll find that imports have gone up astronomically since independence till now. However, our foreign exchange earnings does not increase to match our import demand. So of course there will be a disconnect if you don't have. It's a demand and supply, basic economics 101. If you don't have the supply, what will happen to price? Price will go up. And why don't we have supply? Because we don't have any exports. Nigeria is a mostly agrarian country, self-sufficient farmers. What are we exporting apart from oil and gas and maybe cashew nuts and a few other things? So therefore, we're not generating enough FX. And then when you have uh, since the beginning of time, I believe, and unlike people who share the fact that Nigeria's currency in the 60s or early 60s was like 1 to 1 or $1 to $2 or something like that, 1 naira to $2, 1 to 1 to the pound. People were sharing that, and I say to them, that was a false economy. Why was that a false economy? It was making our economy people to believe that we had a strong economy then when we weren't doing nothing, and therefore we made our exports more expensive and made imports much cheaper, and therefore we continue to grow the economy on this false narrative for 50 odd years. And now we're seeing the consequences of it now that dollar is impossible to find. People like you and I in the diaspora are not sending money home as much as they were doing before, or
Mm.
even if they are, the demand is much, much more. You find that there's no money now, and therefore the crisis comes in. What does government doesn't have money because government doesn't have enough revenue, doesn't have enough tax revenue, doesn't have enough FX because we're not selling enough petroleum products. So it has to do what? It has to cut down on subsidy because subsidy was in the trillions of naira. Every year, a massive amount of money was devoted to subsidy, and it's unsustainable. Not only that, the currency was a form of subsidy for who? The rich people who are doing imports. So therefore, that had to go as well. People are not going to invest your economy when you have various different exchange rates. They're not going to. There's no stability. There's no balance. Why should I change 700 naira when I can go on the black market and get it for 1,000 naira to one? I'm not going to do it. So therefore, the whole economy was hemorrhaging. And so someone like Bola Tinubu, who is a graduate accountant and also knowledgeable of economics, because obviously anyone who's done accountancy will be also knowledgeable of economics and other theories and production. That's why he worked for Mobile. He was the treasurer of Mobile, so and he was also the governor of Lagos State. Will know what the fundamental problems of the nation are. And he told them from day one that subsidy was gone. And the problem for Nigerians, because it was a political bubble, it was a political tool by the opposition, they tried to make out like he said something that was untoward. He was just saying what was knowledgeable and factual from months before. In fact, the year before, once what they call the PIA bill, the Petroleum Industry Act bill, was made into law, it told the government that once it becomes law, you cannot do subsidies anymore. It was Buhari that extended it and extended it. So everybody knew when the date was, but they kept it quiet. So when he said subsidy was gone, it was known to be gone, and there was no provision for that subsidy, and we can't afford it. So that's why whenever you want to do a change, there's going to be pains for, unfortunately, everybody is going to suffer. But suddenly, what I believe is that soon Dangote's refinery will come on stream, the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream, the Kaduna refinery will come on stream, the Eleme refinery will come on stream, and then, all God's willing, we won't be importing as much petroleum as we're doing now. That will reduce a lot of pressure on the FX, but it won't be enough. We still need to become a productive nation. I believe what Peter B said, which is from consumption to production. I don't think anybody should disagree with that. But it's how do we do that? And the state owning the means of production has been proven to be a failure. As a nation, Nigeria's tried to do that since the 60s when they had the indigenization program, when they nationalized all these assets. But name one federal government or state government or local government commercial entity that is a success. There is none. They are all failures. So then it means that what's happened to our private sector? The private sector is supposed to be the ones that drive the economy. However, the policies aren't there, policy somersaults and whatever, unions causing wahala, politicians causing wahala. So there's no stability for the private sector to grow the nation the way it should. We have Dangote, for example. A nation like Nigeria should have at least 100 Dangotes. But instead of them to build Dangotes, they're too busy pulling him down. There are people that are hating Dangote all over the place. Why is it only Dangote? Why is it this? Why is that? They're hating them. Whereas they just should be supporting them to expand. I also ask people, I said to people, when you look at comparable countries like South Korea, like Malaysia, like Vietnam, like Brazil, go and see how they drove their economies and find out whether it was the state or whether it was the private sector that grew those economies. It is actually the private sector. Who is responsible for the excessive imports of Nigeria? Is it government or is it the private sector? It is private people import, not government. Government imports, but government as a percentage of our GDP is not even up to 25%. So most of the imports are by the private sector. So blaming government, to me, is like you guys are not telling yourself the truth. The blame should be on the private sector. And why is that? So if you're a company that you're dependent on imports, you should be asking yourself, with a country that's got so many local resources, why don't I find local source so that I don't import? In every sector, any industry, whatever it is, they should start looking inwards. That's what China did. That's what other countries did, India and so on. Or source locally within West Africa, because all the resources are in Africa anyway. You've got the African Free Trade Zone area. We should key into that and link to our other African brothers and start. I heard a governor of Taraba saying that, oh, I came into government and I put a suspension on mining. That's ridiculous. You need mining to raise revenue for the state. If it's unregulated, then you must regulate it. Not stop the whole thing. And what are those people who are doing those mining going to eat? They're going to turn into banditry, even if they aren't doing it anyway. So this is what I'm saying.
Zamfara State, isn't it?
No, this was Taraba. They also did the same in Zamfara as well. But what I'm just suggesting to you, there's gold in Zamfara. We've got uranium, we've got zinc, we've got lead, we've got I can't remember the lithium. There's so many resources in Nigeria. Chinese are coming in. Everybody's coming. It's not being regulated. Before you know it, all these things are going to be another form of oil where they're taking it out, and there's none of the revenues coming in to Nigerians or the state. Government needs to get the tax royalties from these entities. Look at little Israel. Look how many 300,000 people have called up for war. 300 these are reservists. That's not to talk about the regular army, which is obviously going to be coming to nearly maybe 100,000. So if Nigeria doesn't have that many troops, and look at the size of Nigeria compared to Israel. And then people are wondering why we have got insecurity. Of course we will have insecurity. With porous borders, with problems in Niger, problems in Cameroon. There's separatist movement in Cameroon. There's people doing Boko Haram in Niger. You understand? And Cameroon as well. You've got people doing smuggling coming in from Republic of Benin. You've got pirates on the coast. You've got people doing bunkering in the south. Go to the middle belt. They're killing themselves. They're all hating themselves because it's my land, it's your land, it's this land, it's that land. You're Fulani herdsman. You are Jukun. You are this. You are that. You're Tiv. You're this. It's madness. It's madness. So Nigerians are the problem of Nigeria. Instead of building Nigeria, we spend so much energy fighting and dividing ourselves,
which is very, very unfortunate. Now,
well, that's why we're not. That's why we're not growing at the pace that we should do. The amount of energy that we spend on fighting against each other, if we use that energy to build the nation, like all these youth who are not working or whatever, they should find ways to say, okay, this company They're manufacturing something and they need local resources. Look at bitumen. We are still importing bitumen when in Ondo, Ogun, and Edo states is massive untapped resources of bitumen. Bitumen is a key ingredient in the construction sector for making asphalt, for making many water-proof products that are used in construction and other things. You understand? But we're importing, and that's another load of strain on our FX.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Until Nigerians realize that, you know what, we need to start manufacturing anything we want, let's start manufacturing it. When we start doing that, you'll see a sea change in the way Nigeria's economy will be. It'll create jobs, it'll create FX, and we can export to other African countries.
I agree with you because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up when a country spend foreign money to import toothpick and some other stupid things. So I think it's terrible. But then again, the other area that I want to take you on is people are saying governance is like in Nigeria is on stupidly expensive. I mean, you cannot allow the governance to be live a uh, lavish, very lavish lifestyle. Importing exotic vehicles for legislators, while ordinary people do not even have minimum access to a minimum public transport and so on and so forth. What do you take on this? What's your take on this?
Yes. So
Legislation?
to me, I agree that all those things are important and we must cut costs and reduce corruption and whatnot. But to me, like I've already told you, the government expenditure, the whole federal state government expenditure as a percentage of our GDP is now up to 25%. So that means that it's a minority of expenditure. So the idea that the corruption is what's causing us to be in the mess, it's not true. And the idea that if they stopped spending lavishly, Nigeria would be better tomorrow, it's not true. The problem is the lack of policies and execution of those policies to allow the private sector and entrepreneurs within Nigeria and foreigners and the diaspora to come in and invest. I mean, it's just outstanding. I heard the other day the Minister of Finance, I think it's Ebun, I think his name is Ebun. He was saying,
Edu.
yeah, Ebun. He was saying that private capital inflow is what is necessary investment into to make Nigeria move forward. I've been on shouting for so long that there needs to be a proactive engagement of the diaspora to invest in Nigeria. Till today, they're not taking it seriously. You can have a diaspora summits, you can have merry-go-round summits where people just shake hands and say hello and whatever. It's not the same as active, proper investment, key investment. I said to them, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, I've asked them that, look, why don't you set up an investors portal for the diaspora so that they can come online to your portal and know that they're going to a one-stop shop, and they know that when they're dealing with you, they're dealing directly with Nigerian government, and then their investment is safe. And then they will invest in different areas, whether it's agriculture, education, fine tech, construction, or whatever. Since the foundation of that entity, they still haven't put the portal together. How long does it take to do it? Let's keep on waiting. I've said to them, you can have a liaison office in the UK. And someone there was saying that is because I want to be the head of it. I'm not interested in being part of government. I don't care how it's done, so long as it is done. I'm putting suggestions forward because I know that there are a multitude of Nigerians in the diaspora. Remember, if you look at the Nigerian generations, you came in the 70s. I was born in the 60s, okay? And I've got children that are working. They're working top jobs. So generations and generations of Nigerians are earning big money, earning big property, got big properties, got equity in their property. A typical Nigerian, because they're educated, would be working, and they will have property with hundreds of thousands of equity in it. If they were spoken to and attracted properly with the right incentives or whatever, they could key into that with lower interest rates than Nigeria to invest that money in Nigeria, okay? But they're not going to do it when they've got a history of their mums and dads leaving everything and going over to Nigeria and then getting 419. You understand? They'll buy one land, and the next minute they'll say, come and pay again for the same land, 2, 3, 4 times. Or Omonile will come to them, or someone will disturb them that, when you're doing foundation, you got to give us money. When we're doing decking, you got to give us money. You know what I'm saying? Or you have a dispute with someone in Nigeria, you go to court, you can be in court for like 25 years and go from High Court to Appeal Court to Supreme Court over a little matter, a dispute. You understand? Who's going to invest in that kind of environment? No protection, no insurance to protect your investment as a foreigner. They should bend over backwards for the diaspora, just the way countries like Israel have done, countries like India have done, countries like Japan have done, countries like Brazil. I could go on and on. You have to be proactive and organized and strategic in the way you do it. Lip service is not enough. And a lot of them are thinking, it's up to you. You should come. Why don't you come? It's not a matter of patriotism. It's a business decision. People should decide, why should I invest in Nigeria and with all that headache when I can invest in Ghana, or I can invest in Kenya, or I can invest even in Europe or any other, even in the UK or anywhere, America? Why should we do it? Just because of patriotism when they themselves are not even taking us seriously. You can't give diaspora votes. You can't do anything serious with the diaspora. All you do is you want our money. And what they do, that money that Nigerians are giving, I always tell people, although it's in the billions, it's actually chicken feed. And the reason why it's chicken feed is just to help family and relatives who are got issues, or to build a little bunk house or whatever. But it's not serious investments. Like I said, an individual can key into
it's bread and butter thing, yeah?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Whereas an individual person can invest 100,000 naira in Nigeria now. Imagine you have 1,000 of them doing 100,000. Sorry, 100,000 pounds. You have 1,000 of them in 1 year. If you target it properly, 1,000 people investing 100,000 pounds in Nigeria in a year. Start multiplying that by 1,250, and you'll understand the impact that will make on the Nigerian economy. It'll be more than the revenue of certain states in Nigeria. So I don't know why those in the Diaspora Commission are not taking this matter seriously, because to me, or even in the High Commission, they're not taking it seriously. So at the end of the day, this is an opportunity that will just keep going past. And as generations come, the next generations will be coming further and further removed from Nigeria. Because if I'm not investing in Nigeria, how will my kids invest in Nigeria? How will my grandchildren want to invest in Nigeria? So the disconnect is big. And also you've got diasporans who are not even Nigerians. You've got diasporans from the Caribbean, America, who've gone and done their DNA. And when they've done their DNA, it says to them, you are Nigerian, you are Yoruba, you're Igbo, you're from Fulani stock or whatever. And they want to engage and get back into Nigeria. They also have got money. Are we doing anything formally to engage those people and bring them back home? No, we're not. We're not. And then you wonder why we're in problems. Okay, no wala. Let's keep doing what we're doing. And maybe we keep doing the same thing. We keep getting the same result, and we think that, we're doing fantastic. No wala. It's the people of Nigeria that will continue to suffer, not the people in the diaspora.
Of course, yeah, of course. No, it's not going to be you and I that are living in diaspora. Now, another area I quickly want to touch is judiciary. I know for some silly reasons, I'm not talking as a legal trained person. The case of judiciary is corrupt because of the result of judgments people want to see that did not get. And I've already tried to explain to people, you cannot mix them together. They're just the judges, the court doesn't do anything but your palaver. It's only when you take your palaver away, it's only when you take your problem to them. And when you take your problem to them, they want to look at the in the legal trained manner, and they want to judge according to evidences you bring before them. So if you bring a shabbily put together evidence against a properly constructed or structured evidence, you might probably get you win. And the other one that you might lose because is the way you put your evidence. Yeah, a typical example is the last presidential appeal something. That some people are now crying foul. And I say to people, you cannot say that because the judgment is clear. They're saying it, evidences before us show us why we should say this otherwise from the now that's not been hold on, that's not been transferred to again. I'm conscious of we don't want to start discussing the case before the court, but then again, I have always said uh, that this is an information for ordinary people. Yeah, the case before the Supreme Court is just not going to be case the same case in the appellate court. It's going to be like, did they make mistake? Did they do this? How they should bring this and say, no, it's not done that way. But is judiciary on trial in Nigeria?
For me, the judiciary isn't on trial because, like you rightly said, if the judgment favors you, then the judiciary are fantastic. Like in Nasarawa, where APC was governor, was told that he didn't win the election. That one, the judiciary are fantastic. But if the presidency, they say it's APC that's won, then the judiciary are corrupt. So you only say it's corrupt when the judgment doesn't suit you. This is a nonsense, and it needs to. This kind of fallacy needs to be dispelled. Now, with the case of the presidency, lest we forget, elections are about who wins the majority of the votes. And if you didn't win the majority of the votes, it is he who won the most votes. However, what we have found and what's transpired in our elections is that there's no more trying to get victory by proving that you won the election by having the majority of the votes or the votes, the highest votes. But now you try to seek victory through what I call the back door of disqualification. So let's look at let's dash some dirt, let's throw some dirt at this guy. And then if any of it sticks, then we can win through the back door of disqualification. This, to me, is a dishonorable way of trying to win an election. You didn't win by the ballot, you didn't win by the vote of the people, but you want to win through a dishonorable way of saying you want to disqualify the person. And even if you are disqualifying on sound grounds, that could possibly make sense. But you go forum shopping for any number of reasons. You say, okay, let's try this one. If that one don't hit, try that one. That one no knock. Okay, try that one. Throw that one. Okay, you never reach bullseye. Throw another one. It's a joke, man. It's a pathetic joke. And then people have been taken in by this nonsense. And let's look. I don't want to try the case, but let's even look at the thing. And I say the numbers don't lie. And if they do lie, it is down to you who is saying that they're lies to prove that they are lies. And why do I say things like that? This was an election in which President Tinubu, the Muslim ticket, won in Christian states like Benue State, like Plateau State, like Ondo State, like Ekiti State, like Rivers State, okay? So that shows that the Muslim ticket was not an issue for Nigerians. No, it wasn't an issue for most Christians. Some obviously it was an issue, but the majority of Nigerians didn't see it that way, okay? That's one sort of thing. Tinubu also won in the north, okay? He won in the southwest. He won a state in the south-south. He won a state in the south, in all the regions, basically, except for the southeast, okay? And we know why that is. That was inevitable because Peter Obi was on the ballot. No one's going to beat him in that kind of scenario. And, that's just a given. Now, but let's look at Atiku. Atiku didn't win. He only won one state in the southwest. And the southwest has got 6 states. He only won one, okay? Which was in Osun State because of the dancing governor, all right? He didn't even win Oyo State for the presidential we're talking about now, okay? So then let's go to South. He hardly won many. He won a few states in South. He didn't win anything in the Southeast, which is a core PDP state, okay? And then if you go to the north, he was going neck and neck with Tinubu in most of the states in the north, okay? And then in Kano, he was blown out of the window, you understand? Because of NNPP. PDP decided to divide itself into Labour Party, PDP, and NNPP. And if that wasn't enough, they went and committed harikari, suicide, by deciding to go against their constitution and go for a northern president after 8 years of a Hausa Fulani president, opting for another Hausa Fulani in Atiku, when they knew they're supposed to rotate to the south. So that meant that Wike and all these other people said, you know what, under our dead body, this is going to happen. And so therefore, the case of PDP was dead as a dodo from day one. Although they did reasonably well, they weren't able to have the spread necessary to win. Now let's go to Labour Party. They did fantastically well, winning in so many states. Obviously in the Southeast, they won all the states in the Southeast. You can ask whether they won by those margins or not, but they did. Okay, they won some states in the North Central. You know, Plateau, and I think they won in Plateau and Nasarawa and FCT. Okay, they won Lagos, one state in Southwest, but they didn't win anything else. They didn't even come second in any other state in the Southwest. Okay, they didn't win anything in any Muslim state. No Muslim state was won by the Labour Party, and they didn't even come second in any of these core North states. So they were distant third. How on earth, on those statistics, could they tell you that they had a stolen mandate? So you can see the election is not about whether they won the election or not, because that is the clear. They didn't even seek to try to prove that in court. Okay, it's all about this disqualification. And let's take them one. I mean, if we've got time, let's take the disqualifications one by one. First of all, they said Tinubu is a dual citizen and therefore not qualified to be the president. That was thrown away because he was a Nigerian citizen at birth. It's different if you are a foreign citizen and then you became a Nigerian citizen. He was a Nigerian citizen at birth, so therefore that's thrown away. They said Shetima had double nomination, whereas that double nomination case has already been tried and gone to court and thrown out. So they're bringing it again. If that wasn't enough, they said that he was convicted of a criminal offense. Okay, but the truth is, and that he had forfeiture, which is a criminal offense. They said, and I had this debate with someone called David Hudain and another person called Femi Adigbeligwe. I said to them, civil forfeiture and criminal forfeiture are not one and the same. In criminal forfeiture, you need to have a criminal conviction in order to have forfeiture. So that forfeiture, that criminal forfeiture, is part of the sentencing. So therefore, in order to have a criminal conviction, you must first of all have an arrest warrant. Because I heard Hudain say, he said to me that, the reason why they did that thing is because they couldn't get the person arrested. Maybe the person wasn't in the country. You can actually be arrested. You can actually be convicted in absentia. You don't actually have to be present to be convicted. So that puts poo-poo to that. Anyway, criminal conviction requires an arrest warrant. It requires an indictment, a charge. Yeah, it requires a trial, and then after the trial, you've got conviction and sentencing. All those elements are non-existent. And therefore, it just shows that that was dead in the water. So they tried that, they failed. Then they said that, he didn't go to CSU. He didn't go to CSU. They now went on a foray. Atiku went on a foray to CSU, even despite the fact that they had his transcript already and his certificate, diploma, as they call it. CSU have said that the man who is the president of Nigeria is indeed the same Bola Tinubu that was an honors student with them. You understand? And yet this is still not enough for them. Now they're saying that, the certificate they got is a forged certificate. The funny thing about forgery, especially when it comes to certificates, and we had this same situation with Minsuma, the lady that forged her JAM documentation. What is the difference between her and Tinubu? In Minsuma, and this without conceding that there's any kind of forgery anyway, in Minsuma, she forged her JAM results to present something which she didn't have. That is that she had a higher grade than higher score than what she actually did. Why would someone forge a certificate to show that they got what they already have? I mean, maybe he got a first, and then say he got a third class, and he wanted to show that he's got a first class. That would make sense. We could see that as a forgery. You wouldn't forge something that you already have. So in order for there to be forgery, there must be an alteration in the facts. So anyway, I'm not prejudging what's going to happen, but I'm just telling you what's going to happen. And like you said, in any case, the Supreme Court is not for extra new evidence.
No.
The Supreme Court is just going to deal with evidence. But I would like, honestly, I would like the Supreme Court to just, to entertain the audience. Let's take it into account in any case, or to give a statement that even if we were to take into account this so-called new evidence, it still amounts to naught. That's what they need to show them, that even if we take it into account without conceding, it still amounts to naught. The person graduated from there with honors, and the university in its deposition have said it is the case. There is nowhere in the deposition, and I've read it copiously, I've read it over and over, time and time, there's nowhere in the 127-page deposition where the chap concerned, I've forgotten his name now, said, and West something his name is, whether he said that of anything was a forgery. There was no such statement. And the BBC have confirmed that as well. And yet people are saying, oh, maybe the BBC were bribed. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? We've come from the sublime, we've come to just ridicule now in Nigeria. Just like there are people in Nigeria that still believe President Buhari is Jibril from Sudan. They believe it. They will swear on their life that he is. So, as it stands now, they defamed Tinubu. They caricatured him as someone who can't speak. He's an invalid. He's senile. He's demented. They said he doesn't have education. That he's a forger. He's a criminal. All manner of things have been laid against him. But guess what? He's still standing, and he's still the president of the federal and commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And when history is being told, all these people like David Hundeyin and all those with their fake journalism will not be mentioned. President Buhari and President Tinubu will be mentioned, but all this stuff that Hundeyin and all of them are doing, it won't even be a footnote in history. So this is what we're saying. Comedy journalism and journalism to suit your political narrative in order to suit your candidate should be disbanded. And we should focus on facts and not innuendo and false allegations. I spoke to him at length. I said, are you sure that this is a criminal conviction? He was saying it was. He said it, and he said it time and time again. He's a criminal, And I keep asking them, do you know the definition of a criminal? There's actually a definition of a criminal. And does Tinubu fit into that categorization? And don't forget that if you have a criminal record in America, you won't be able to go in and out of America. You understand? Yeah, President Buhari has gone in, and President Tinubu has gone in and out of America severally, even submitted his passport to that effect. But you can't change. Those people who believe in the so-called phantom stolen mandate will continue to preach stolen mandate infinitum. And so let's just leave it like that.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a long analysis. I choose the question, and I know you're going to do justice to it. Now, because of time, somebody just sent me a text about saying he wants to know from your guest whether the issue of Nigerian Airways, why is Nigeria not capable of running their own airline?
Well, I was at Farnborough when the former Minister of Aviation was launching the so-called Air Nigeria, and I've got the cap here. I would have Nigerian Air. Yes, and I asked him that where is the transparency in this thing that you're creating? Because to me, it was all up in the air, and it's very confusing. Really, Nigeria as a state, I don't think we necessarily have to have a government-owned national airline. I think it should be privately owned national airline. I don't think it should be government-owned, because anything government-owned is bound to fail. Nigerian Airways failed because it was government-owned. Because guess what? Just like people are accusing Segun Tinubu of using presidential jet as his private jet, people will be using the Nigerian Air as their private jet, and they won't be paying. Okay, so they won't be paying. They'll get all their family to go to all these places, not paying, and in the end, the company will be indebted, and then will be folded up. If it's a private company, the government could own it, but they could most possibly sell the majority of shares on the stock exchange, which is what I thought Sadiq would have done. created an IPO, created PLC company, Nigeria PLC, put it on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and let people buy into it and let it roll. If the new Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, can do that, I think that will be good for Nigeria, rather than government owned. Like Ethiopian Airline is not government owned.
I think you put it together very well, because businesses like that, like airways all over the world, is privatized. It's a PPI thing.
Has to be.
It shouldn't be when you budget.
Yeah.
And why it has always failed is because the government budget to run it.
Yeah.
So why would they make profit?
And government doesn't have money anyway, so it's just a waste of time. It shouldn't even bother thinking about it.
Now, coming down to the final part of this show, I must quickly warn you, please. I want issues. I don't want any personalization. I don't want anybody to be called names or anything. I know your stance.
I haven't called anyone any names so far.
I'm just telling you. I'm just like,
okay.
I know this is going to go on record. The truth of the matter is, we have a situation where Nnamdi Kanu is still in the castration, and then Samekpan, as far as I'm concerned, Samekpan doesn't even come into the frame, because there's no. He might be wanted. He might be declared wanted by Nigerian authority. He might be a person of interest to Nigerian authority. But as far as I'm concerned, he has not been a major fish. He's not been a big fish like Nnamdi Kanu that is there. And that is for the Igbo extraction. Now, we're looking at also the situation that on the 9th of this month, when Chief Sunday Igboho was released by the government of Republic of Benin. That's why I say we need to get it right. It wasn't on the order of President Ahmed Tinubu, because what I say to people is, if it was the president of Nigeria that asked him, say, you can go freely, he might as well chosen to come back to go to Nigeria. But anyway, that's for that. Now, Femi, generally, what I want to ask you again, I've asked you before, what exactly, I want you to address my audience. What exactly do you have against the campaigners? Listen, the campaign. I'm one of the campaigners. What exactly is hang on a minute.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Like no personalization.
No, not at all. I'll be full and straight to you. Go ahead.
What exactly do you have against the campaigners that say, well, it would be nice, it would be good, it would be better if Yoruba people remove themselves from the association of Nigerian as it is now.
Okay. Okay, good.
Please, the question, no personalization, please.
Yeah, of course. I'm not personalizing it. Look, I've always been in favor of one Nigeria from I can remember. When I was young, I used to go with my dad. My dad used to instruct me to go and buy West Africa magazine in Brixton there when I was in Brixton as a youth, as a young child. I used to buy it and I used to read the magazine and read about the Civil War, not the Civil War, the aftermath of the Civil War, the coups that were happening, the oil boom, and all sorts of stuff. So I learned a lot about Nigeria's history, even whilst I was still young. And I've always been, when I was young, when I was in school, if you called me, where are you from? I said, I'm from Nigeria. I never said I was British. I never said I was English, even though I'm an English. I'm not English, I'm British and I have a British passport. But I'm Nigerian British, if you like. So I believe in one Nigeria wholeheartedly. I believe in all of Nigeria. I don't believe in Nigeria needs to scatter. I don't believe in the scatter Nigeria agenda. That's why, as you can see, I'm the DG of Betta9ja, one Nigeria and a better Nigeria. And it's because of this simple fact that we are stronger together and weaker apart, okay? And that if we spend all these so-called energies on divisiveness, on uniting ourselves, we would have grown so much better. And to cap it all, when I start looking at, I know one of the founder of the Orange Nation or whatever it is, I can't remember what they're called. they believe in that the 371 different nationalities that are in Nigeria should come together and have a constitutional conference and decide how they're going to split Nigeria into separate entities. 371 separate entities. This is a joke. There are how many countries are there in Africa? And then you want to have 371 different countries in Nigeria because each one of them has a right to their own nation, if you like. Why should someone who's a Margi from Adamawa State be less uh, um, um, less needy of a state than a Yoruba person or someone from
Ijaw, Benue.
BBO anywhere? You understand? So what I'm suggesting to you is that when you even look at the Oduduwa nation, because I'm a Yoruba person, okay, and I am great, and I look back at what Awolowo did, and I look at it I have many different views of it. They did great for their time, but in the scheme of things, they could have done much, much more better. Now, I say to people that if we have a Yoruba nation today, this is 2023. What is going? The reason, one of the main reasons why I'm even against it is because I believe that it's dead on arrival and it is not sustainable. And the reason why I say that is that as Nigeria is right now, we're not sustaining ourselves. We're messed up. Now, if you were to take Nigeria, and we're dependent on oil, okay, and the oil is coming from where? The south, okay, not from the south. I mean, there's some in Ondo. Maybe there's oil deposits in Ogun. There's oil deposits in Lagos, but they're not being utilized and tapped at the moment. So what I'm suggesting to you is that if we take the 6 states, Ogun, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, Lagos, and Oyo, and made them into a country, how will that country sustain itself? And what was the population of that area? Over 50 million, maybe 60 million. Okay, what is the income that they're going to generate? Where's it going to come from on day one? Let's talk about in the future. Oh, one day they will do this. Let's start from day one. There will be no oil. Okay, there'll be no gas. Okay, so are we going to be selling cashew? Are we going to sell cocoa? Are we going to be selling wood? What are we going to be exporting? Oh, is it that people say, oh, well, we've got Lagos port. Oh, really? Okay, so now that you come out of Nigeria, why should other parts of Nigeria come to Lagos port? There's no incentive for them to do that anymore. Why should they build Oduduwa Nation when they can go to the port in Republic of Benin? They can go to the port in Lomé. They can go to the port in Port Harcourt. Or they can go to the port in Cameroon. There's no reason for them to come to Lagos. So that's already a minus there. So then also, all the imports that are coming through Lagos are coming to go to other parts of Nigeria. That won't be happening again. So where is the money coming from on day one? This is what I keep asking people. Show me the money. Show me the sustainability and the viability of the Yoruba nation from day one. What products, what are we going to be exporting? Where are we going to make our FX from? How are we going to fund our schools, our roads, our defense? Because we're going to have a big defense because we're going to be guarding against the so-called Fulani invasion. And even if you have a state, will that stop the invasion? I promise you, it will not stop anyone who wants to be coming because the borders will still be porous. So you start adding it up, and you say that okay, they haven't got money, they can't afford this, they can't afford that. It's not sustainable. So even if you have independence, on what basis? It's just like Biafra. If they become a Biafra and it's a landlocked Biafra because the South are not going to join them in their Biafra escapade, you understand? So it will be landlocked because the people in Akwa Ibom, they're not going to be part of Biafra. So they'll be landlocked. There'll be no access to the ports. How will they sustain themselves? This is what I keep asking them. But people, because of nationalism, the type of nationalism that's caused Israel to go into war, that's caused mayhem and chaos in so many countries, we're believing that we must all be fighting ourselves. Whereas, if we start saying, what is it that is good in Ogun State, within the Southwest now? If we look at the Southwest, we could actually collaborate more. The governors of Ogun, Oyo, Ondo, Ekiti, and Lagos could collaborate more. They've got a thing called the Dawn Initiative. If they took that more seriously, okay, they could actually make the Southwest of Nigeria even more successful than it is. In fact, in Nigeria today, The most successful region in Nigeria today is the southwest region. Apart from the oil and gas that we're raping from the south, which unfortunately they're being penalized for. They're getting all that money and they're not doing anything with it. You understand? In the southwest, we have the best education institutions in the southwest, the medical institutions, the best in the southwest, the transport infrastructure, the best in the southwest. Industries and commerce, finance, whatever you want to name it, is in the southwest. But we're still complaining. We are complaining that we're marginalized. We have a Yoruba president, I mean, a person who's Yoruba origin as the president. We're still complaining. Before him, there was Obasanjo was a president. We're still complaining about marginalization. This is a complete joke. There are so many other tribes in Nigeria who are truly marginalized in the sense that you won't find them. How many Shekiri are you find in every government department? How many people of Irobo in every government department? You understand? But we claim that we are the ones that are being marginalized. I find it astounding that we could even make that claim. The Yorubas are the one of the most people that have benefited mostly from the so-called contraption that is Nigeria. What we ought to do is make that benefit even more by working closer together and synergizing what we're doing. We ought to have a uniform educational policy within the Southwest. Are you telling me that the federal government constitution is stopping us from doing that? No, it's not, because it's part of the concurrent list. It's not on the federal list. Agriculture policy. We should have a uniform agriculture policy, water policy, transport. All of these things are on the concurrent list. But because of selfishness of our politicians and the divide and rule kind of scenario and lack of foresight and lack of strategic thinking, we're not thinking ahead of ourselves. How many dams have we got in the Southwest? Do we need a federal government before we build a dam? This is what I'm trying to say to you. All the industries that Awolowo built and in those days, what happened to them? The Oduduwa group of companies, what happened to them? Isn't it us, the Yorubas, that destroyed them? You understand? Let's take out the military regime where they destroyed them as well. But this is what I'm saying to you. They created a legacy for us. And who are the ones that destroyed it if not us? Who are the ones who should rebuild it if not us? We should rebuild it again. Everybody in Nigeria wants to come to where? To Lagos and Southwest. All the people leaving leaving the Southeast because of IPOB, the so-called freedom fighters, IPOB, killing themselves, causing mayhem amongst themselves. They're flooding out of that area, coming where? To the Southwest. Because where is the most safest part in Nigeria? The safest region right now is the Southwest. So to me, this is a false flag declaration about this Oduduwa nation, and it's dead on arrival because the majority of Yoruba don't support it. And then if you look at the elite, any cause that doesn't have the elite supporting it, doesn't have the entrepreneurs and industrialists supporting it, and a majority of the youth supporting it, is dead on arrival. And I keep asking you, why are they absent? They're none of these people or none of these groups that I'm talking about are in the forefront of the Oduduwa nation. And that's why you can see that the agitation for Oduduwa nation is more or less waning right now. It's dying a slow death of its own. So, but we should we should move the energy towards being more integrated within the Southwest, building our political structures and continuity within the Southwest, so that when a governor comes in, he continues what the previous governor does and continues. Not like in Ogun State, where you've got masses of abandoned projects all over the place. Every governor wants to outdo the other one with his own projects, rather than fixing what was on ground and building on that. This is what we're talking about.
Thank you very much, Femi. Again, I think this food for thought. I have chosen to be taking a middle space. Like I'm liberal. I think in such a manner. I have always campaigned, even if at the end of the day we want to go for it. I've always insisted that it is a political way, a political approach. We are not doing that. We're probably not really making progress. But then again, as I've said, I want to thank you because of time. The last and the very new one, I want to use this opportunity to congratulate the new EFCC, even though there are a couple of uh, controversies about his
Yeah,
appointment. And then the 24-year-old, one of my grandchildren, made. I'm very happy for him. I appreciate the president looking not too high above, but looking also middle and level, so our children can also be very useful. Femi, I want to thank you very much for coming to my show. Again, I've always been privileged to come to your show also. So, viewers, this is all what the time I have for a budget for 1.5 hours, and the 1.5 hours is just coming
yeah.
to an end. So, thank you very much for coming, and hopefully, when next I call you again, where you know the list of topics we can
Yeah.
review, so we can talk about it here. So,
I
your
want to
last,
thank.
yeah,
Yeah, I want to thank you for inviting me to the show. It's been a great discussion. We've not been to and fro as such. You've not really put me on the spot too much, but maybe next time you will. It was fantastic. I really appreciate it. Just because normally I'm on the other side asking the questions, and please, people now know where I'm coming from. I always say to people, I don't hide my allegiances. I'm an APC supporter. I don't have any problem letting people know with that because at the end of the day, in my show, I bring people from Labour Party, from PDP, from APC, and I allow everybody to have their say. You understand? And I don't really say, I just give them the direction. As with regards to the appointment, you said, congratulations, of course. But what we must be careful of is the narrative that's been out there now is that during Buhari, we had Fulanization of Nigeria, and now people are saying we're having a Yorubanization of Nigeria. So, that's out there. People are saying it, and I think the government should look carefully into that, so that that's not becoming the new caricature of the
thank you.
government.
Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers. This is it. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough time to take calls. But I can promise you that I'm going to bring Mr. Femi Oke, the DG of Better for Nigeria, and is a provi, in the media now. So I do respect that. Thank you
I'm still
again.
learning. I'm still
Yeah,
learning.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have a great weekend. My
Okay.
regards to everybody. Bye bye, viewers. Thank you for having
Take
me.
care, man.
Okay.
Bye.